name is Sophie from Most Magical Guides, and welcome to the Most Magical Podcast, where you are going to learn to visit the Disney parks like a pro and maximize the magic by mastering the planning. Today, I have a very special guest. I have Jin with Journeys with Jin and Mike, and we're going to be talking all about the things that are coming up in the Disney parks around the world and how that might impact your planning. But hello, Jin, how are you doing?
Oh my gosh, Sophie, I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. This is super exciting.
I'm so excited to chat. Like, we've become friends. We both do YouTube channels, and I love that because you live in the US, you get to visit Disneyland and Disney World a lot. So when I'm not there, I'm always watching what you're doing and getting tips and advice, and I absolutely love it. You've recently been to Disneyland, which is so exciting.
I just got back. Oh, it's amazing. And by the way, Sophie, you're an inspiration to us all. So thank you for being there, and you're just amazing. I watch your content all the time. Love it so much.
Oh, that's so kind of you. That's so kind. But it's so nice kind of being able to meet other people that love Disney just as much, which is amazing. Because people that don't like Disney don't get it, but we get it.
That's okay. Let them be them.
Exactly that. So today we want to talk about what's coming up at Disney, kind of the future of Disney, and also how this could impact your trips in the next couple of years. Now, I think the good thing is a lot of work has already been done. So most things are going to be opening. So it's going to enhance your trips. But we're also going to let you know the things that maybe are still being renovated or built so that you are aware, if you're visiting the next couple of years, what you might encounter. So should we dive straight in? Should we go straight into Disney World?
Let's do it. Let's do Disney World.
This is so
lots going on. Lots going on.
Yes, I think that's the thing. It's because Disney World has been doing a lot of work over the past couple of years. It's easy to forget how many new things have come because it's just wild when you start thinking about it. Like, obviously, we've got Tron. We've just had loads of stuff happening at Epcot. There's a little bit more to come in Epcot, which I think is going to be amazing. Communical Hall, where they're going to have like all of the stuff for the festivals, I think would be really cool, and they're going to have these 2 stages for live performances.
And Kanto.
Yes, it's going to be amazing. So I'm really loving that. Kind of Epcot for a very long time had a lot of construction walls.
Oh my gosh. Walcott. Yeah. That's how they used to call it. It's still a little bit of that happening right now, but
yes,
it's finally coming down a little bit.
Yeah, when I was there, my last visit was in 2022. And like the whole center of Epcot was basically walls. So it's going to be so nice now. I cannot wait to see the new Walt statue. It looks incredible.
Yeah. And I was actually just there a couple of months ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and did quite a lot of things and definitely took a picture with the Dreamer statue. And let me tell you, tears welled up. There's something about Walt, and it just has a special place in my heart. And, we get to the next to him, take a picture, and oh man, that was really nice.
It's such a great photo spot. And like you say, there is something magical about these statues and kind of having that vision of Walt in the park, especially because it was a park he was so passionate about and obviously never ever got to see, never even got to kind of get very involved in it. And it's so nice to have him there now. And of course, Moana, Journey of Water looks amazing, especially in the heat.
You might get wet. That is, I will say that. So bring wet shoes if extra pair of socks.
That's perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna bring some Crocs with me, and I'll be prepared. But it looks beautiful, and I love it's the interactive as well.
Yeah, especially at night. And why don't we just dive in? Shall we start with Epcot since we're on?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, I guess new is old things now is going to be new. Yep. Test Track 3.0 is coming to Epcot. And I feel like this is the 3rd time they're reskinning it, because there used to be the test dummy, the crash dummy back in the days. And now it's more like a test track where you kind of evaluating the performance of your vehicle through different tracks, different weather. Obviously, the finale, that is your out the door race against time. Yes. That is always the highlight. But it sounds like it's going to be retheming to an older theme, right? It's kind of like World of Motion. Is that kind of what's happening?
Yes, yeah. Which I think is really interesting, because it's interesting they're kind of wanting to keep it modern, but also kind of throwing
like a callback
to, and something that people kind of enjoyed, which I think is really nice.
Absolutely. I think, I don't know, controversial opinion. I don't know, Sophie, if you agree with me or not. You've recently been to Disneyland, right? So there is a Radiator Springs Racers and Test Track They're kind of the same ride mechanism.
Yes.
My opinion.
Yep.
Not a Disneyland Homer or anything like that, but
I love it.
I think Radiator Springs is just that much better.
We totally agree. And I think because also you've got the Disney theming, like Test Track is so cool, but it doesn't really relate to anything in Disney. Whereas Radiator Springs is like, it's so vibrant, so big. And also it's such a beautiful land. Like, and that ride is, you can get so many great photos with that in the background.
It's incredible.
Just the theming is so fun. Like, I think that was my favorite ride in DCA.
So
it is interesting to say it's kind of a similar ride, but different theming. And it's interesting how the theming can really, really up the ante.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So the World of Motion, I'm actually there. Disney hasn't really released a lot of new information about what this new skin might look like. It's still going to be sponsored by Chevrolet. So Chevrolet, you're fine. You're safe. We're not dropping you. But what it's going to be, I don't know. But to your point, Sophie, that the theming and all the things around the ride just adds so much more to it. So I'm actually looking forward to it. Sounds like they're closing later this year. Is that kind of the...
Yes. So I have it down. It's going to be closing the 17th of June. And there's been no reopening date. And I'm assuming because it's a retheme, it will be closed for quite some time.
Yeah.
But it's very exciting when it's going to come back. And I think that's the thing. It's kind of like now Epcot is kind of all together where you've got the new names of the lands and kind of most things open. This will just be like the icing on top.
Yeah, Epcot is really interesting because I went to D23, Destination D23 last year in Orlando, and they showed a little bits and pieces about the history of Epcot. And it sounded like they literally put two sides of the model and then just merged it together. It just became Future World and World Showcase. Sounded like it was a very spontaneous decision how that was going to be all jigsaw together, but I don't know how true that is, but don't call me out there.
Yes. Yeah, because it is an interesting park, isn't it? Because World Showcase and the front of the park are very different to each other.
How would you why would somebody would think to bring those two pieces together, which is fascinating.
Yeah, it's so interesting. But I think it's kind of nice because I like to kind of split my day, like start with like the front of the park. And then once you've done everything there, you kind of go into World Showcase and you've got a completely different experience.
It's super chill.
Yes. That's the thing. When I was a kid going to Epcot, I just didn't really get it. I was like, what is this park? Because there's not as many rides, it's more the theming. And as a kid, I was just like, right. But when I went my last time, I was like, oh, I get it now. Like just wandering around the different lands, the different pavilions, eating and drinking, taking the culture. It was amazing.
Now, Sophie, here's the thing though. So you're in the UK. You're, and Europe is close, but so you get to, one train ride, you're in Paris, and you're in the rest of the Europe. So for us here in the States, being able to travel across the world, around the world, it's a little bit more challenging. So
pricey as well.
Yes. Oh my gosh, with everything going on right now. But the point is, you can literally walk around World Showcase and be able to visit a lot of countries. And they, the one thing I will give to Disney is that they do make it a very, as much of an authentic experience as possible. I will reserve the opinion on the China Pavilion because the food there, we can talk about that later. But anyway, everywhere else, if you have a Panda Express over there in the UK, or if
we have kind of similar, yes.
Yeah. If our audience knows about that, that's pretty much on par with.
I love that.
Anyhow, but everything else, Epcot just recently added the Japan Pavilion, added Shikisai, which is a really authentic Japanese izakaya, and just they're just adding all sorts of different things. And to your point, back to Kamini Core, I think that's the exciting thing that's coming up, I believe in June, right? They're opening up very
Yes. That's the thing. I feel like it's going to be completed really quick, and it's going to be nice because there's so many festivals at Epcot that you're going to have this new center where you're going to have lots of festival goings on. There's going to be more stages, so there's going to be even more live music in Epcot, which is something I really enjoy, because something I loved in Disneyland was there was live music absolutely everywhere, and you kind of get that same feeling in Epcot. And now we're going to have even more of it, and there's going to be a new Mickey Mouse meet and greet, which is going to be fantastic. Indoors. Air conditioning.
No, it's happening. It's happening.
Yes.
I didn't get the chance to meet them. Both of them were there. Mickey and Minnie both were there.
Yes.
At least last time I was there, they were wearing their 100th anniversary
Oh, it's so
platinum
nice.
outfits. It was beautiful. It was right outside of, I want to say, a Pixar shorts, the exit queue.
Yep.
So we just happened to be watching some of the Pixar shorts, and there was a line of people. And when Mike and I go to a park, here's kind of what we do. We don't know too much, but when we see a line, we just, regardless what it is, we jump into it.
I love that.
Because that's our philosophy, because somebody over there that's in line probably knows what's going on. So we're just gonna be like, you know what's going on? There's a line, we're gonna be in it. And there was a huge line out the door. I'm like, what is going on? And then sure enough, it's Mickey and Minnie.
I love that. But they're actually going to have a new meet and greet spot specifically.
They will. Okay.
Unicorn Hall, which is going to be amazing. So, like, the fact that it will be themed inside, like, I think it's going to be so good. So I can't wait for that. That's also coming June time. So I just
go ahead.
Yeah, Epcot just really come together. Like, it was a long project, but all of a sudden, like, everything's opening kind of rapidly one after the other, which is amazing.
Are they going to bring the festival booths into the community core? Is that kind of the plan?
I don't know. I'm wondering if, because you sometimes get some of them indoors. Like, and I'm like, I wonder if they will kind of do that as well.
But they consolidate some of the booths and as well as the one in the Odyssey, and just kind of put them back together. Saves you a lot of walking. I mean, walking around Epcot that's a thing. That's tiring.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all exposed. So when it's really hot, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm enjoying the food and drink, but I could do with being indoors and like cooling down. So I think that'll be perfect. That'll be so good.
Is that pretty much all for Epcot? I mean, there's some pretty exciting things around the park. So
yeah, exactly.
You want to head to Magic Kingdom next?
Yes, let's do Magic Kingdom. Of course, the big thing that we were all excited about is Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I have been seeing more and more updates all the time, and it's looking literally incredible.
I think they're starting to do live people testing now.
Yes, so, I have seen that.
Usually when that happens, the annual pass holder and the cast member previews will closely follow. They're saying summer. You know, summer loosely interpreted from now until September, but I'm betting my money on July.
Yeah, it's feeling like it's going to be earlier rather than later, because like you say, now that they've got people on it and they look like they're enjoying it, it's amazing. We've recently just heard as well there's going to be 2 themed shops. I cannot wait for the merch. I am so excited. It's going to be amazing. And there's a lot of rumors that maybe Pecco Bills will be rethemed, which I think would make absolute sense, because where Tiana's Bayou Adventure is in Magic Kingdom, it will be kind of weird if you don't make it more Bayou rather than
Frontierland.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it would make sense if that did change. And then, of course, there's going to be beignets, which people will love.
You know what I'm really excited about Tiana's Bayou Adventure is I think Disney recently showcased some of the new animatronics that they're going to be putting in the ride. They're not the rear projection faces, which is amazing.
They look amazing, don't they?
I love the fully articulated faces. I think that's where, we might get to that a little bit later when we're talking about the international parks, but the Frozen Land in Hong Kong, they essentially have a very similar, if not the same ride as the one that's already in the Norway Pavilion in Epcot. But the animatronics have that articulated face rather than the facial, the rear facial projection, which sometimes gets a little weird. I mean, I'm sure they do a lot of things. I mean, their facial expressions are pretty expressive. They can do a lot with it, but there's just something missing, especially just the coloring of their neck to their face. I don't know, Sophie, what's your opinion about that?
Yeah, it is interesting. And I always find it funny when every now and then you'll see clips on TikTok where maybe one of the projections isn't working. It's just a blank.
The face is blank.
Which I always think looks really funny. But as an adult, I can appreciate that. But I'm sure maybe little kids are horrified. Like, what's going on?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly.
Elsa has no eyes.
Yeah, exactly. They're terrified. But I think, like you say, like having articulated faces, it just makes them, there's something special about that. And it feels like real animatronics.
Yes, absolutely. That one, I'm super excited. And then, I mean, obviously, we're going to have the same version in Disneyland coming a little bit later. So we'll get to that a little bit later in our podcast here.
But yeah, it's so exciting and I just can't wait. I think it's going to be incredible. I have everything crossed. Like, we haven't seen anything to do with Dr. Facilier, and he's like my favorite Disney villain. And I'm hoping that maybe he's going to be a
Amazing.
surprise element, and they're not going to announce anything to do with him until maybe it opens, or like the previews are happening and the people are like, oh my God, you're going to see him. Because I am like, if when you're going up to the big drop, he's not going, oh, you're ready. Oh, I'm going to be so upset.
Where the crows used to be.
Yes, that's what I'm really hoping for. And I'm like, if not, I'm going to be so upset because I love him. And the fact that there could be more merch of him, I'm like, please let it happen. But I'm very excited. I love Mama Odie, and we know she's going to be in there. So I can't wait.
And it sounds like Princess Tiana now, I think she has several different outfits now. So she has the princess, the full regalia, and she also has the restaurant, the boss babe entrepreneur outfit.
Yes.
There's like the more the jungle explorer outfit that's coming too. So I'm super excited about that.
I'm so excited because we've already seen 100 Park Fair's just reopened, and Tiana's now a character there, and she has her new costume, which looks amazing. So I love that they've already introduced that. And then also in the buffet now, you have some of Tiana's dishes, which I think is really cool.
So I think next up,
yep.
I don't know if you can see in my background.
Yes.
Country Bear Jamboree is getting a re-theme.
It's so interesting that, like, I loved it, but I can understand where they were like, some of these songs we might have to change. Like, you're
a little dated.
Yeah, you don't really listen to the lyrics. And then when I was listening as an adult, I was like, oh, we're talking about like killing husbands and stuff. Can we do that, Disney? No. Go ahead.
No, sounds like they're working with some Nashville musicians in Tennessee here in the States to really bring a very authentic country music sound to it. It sounds like they're going to be incorporating more of the Disney elements, more theming into the songs. So it's not just going to be your regular old country songs, but there's going to be some Disney magic in there as well. So
that's what I think is really interesting, where you're going to have this mix of Disney songs. I think that's what people are really curious about.
Yeah.
But like you say, because they're going to be working with country musicians, I think they're going to do them in such interesting ways. And I can't wait. That's going to be opening this summer. And I'm hoping, I'm going to be there in September. So I'm hoping that will be open. I'm like, summer has to be before September, right?
Well, in Orlando, summer is until like
it's December. So true. Exactly. And I think that's funny, isn't it? Because summer could be any time, like you say, from about May to September, but also Halloween starts in August. So I think that we just have all the seasons at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And for that one, actually, I don't know, did you remember that when the ride was closing down to get ready for the refurbishment the night of, they ran into some issues that I think cast member did their best to try to help out. A lot of people lined up to kind of like catch the old ride, old attraction as it was. But I think everybody's very excited for that. That's going to be opening up soon, to your point, and fingers and toes crossed that September.
That would be incredible.
Maybe before.
Yes, that would be so good. But yeah, I know that's something everyone is looking forward to. Is that Magic Kingdom done? I think those are all the updates, because obviously we've had stuff.
One more.
Oh, what's the other update?
The Pirates of the Caribbean new restaurant.
Ooh, what is this? I don't even know about this. This is very
exciting. Yeah. So the new Pirates of the Caribbean Tavern, we don't know the date, but it's coming to Adventureland. So the rumor has it that it's going to be similar to Olga's Cantina with pirates, not space pirates. But I don't know. I've seen some of the footage or, rendering of the pirates themed on the Treasure. I want to say there. I think on the Disney Treasure, there's going to be the pirates themed lounge. Yep. But if it's anything, it's going to look anything like that, I'm going to be super excited. But again, not too many details. That's just one more little addition to our Magic Kingdom.
That would be so nice, because I really love Ogre's Cantina, because it gives you just a different feel, and it's a nice place to go and relax for a little bit. So to have that in Magic Kingdom, but pirate themed, would be next level. Yeah,
that's going to be
absolutely so good.
I can't wait. Good. I can't wait.
Yes. So yeah, there's loads of exciting things coming. And of course, Animal Kingdom, you've also got lots going on there. It's Tough to Be a Bug. It's going to be rethemed to Zootopia. And I think that's kind of interesting because I love it. Like, I think It's Tough to Be a Bug is so underrated. I'm obsessed with Lick. But
it gives me nightmares.
I love it. But I feel like Zootopia is something a lot of the younger audiences know more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be so fun. But do you think they're gonna keep all the kind of tricks and special effects?
As long as we don't have bugs buzzing around, bumping you, I'm not gonna spoiler, alert.
Yeah.
But definitely experience it before it gets rethemed. But if you're not a fan of crawlies, definitely be aware because it's a PTSD inducing ride, in my opinion.
That's the thing. I like watching it, but what I enjoy more is people's reactions who've never been on it.
Oh my gosh.
What to expect. And I always
know what's happening.
So
you're like prepping yourself and then you're looking at everybody else.
And I think it's so fun. And I think it's one of those attractions that could be easily skipped over because I don't think people kind of realize that within the Tree of Life there is an attraction itself. But I think it's going to be so interesting to be Zootopia. I really do enjoy that film as well. And yeah, I feel like you say though, definitely catch it if you can before it shuts. We don't actually know when it's shutting. It could be this year, it could be the beginning of next year. Nobody knows. So yeah, if you're going anytime soon, definitely try and catch that in its original form before it shuts for a while, and then you get to have the experience of the Zootopia version. And what do you think now about Dino Land's going to be shutting down? That's going to have a massive retheming. What are you thinking about that?
Well, I have thoughts.
I love it.
I have thoughts. So Animal Kingdom in my mind is a bit of a wild card, no pun intended. But again, when we get to Disneyland, we're going to talk about Indiana Jones adventures and stuff like that. So Dinosaur is basically the same ride mechanism as Indiana Jones Adventures in Disneyland.
Yep.
Again, if they're going to be, rumor has it, again, I think the only thing in Animal Kingdom that has been fully confirmed is the Zootopia retheming for the Tree of Life, Bug's Life. So that everything else has just been blue sky. We don't really know what's really happening. There are rumors. Of course, I think Sophie and I are going to be talking about that in a little bit there. But as far as Indiana Jones, if you're just going to be shipping one thing from another park and just kind of like transferring and then put it over another ride, I don't know. How do you feel, Sophie, about that?
I feel the same in the sense of I think it's such a shame. Like, one of the great things about the parks is that they have differences. So there's a reason to visit them all. And we're seeing at the moment a lot of things either, like you said, being rethemed to a ride that they already have somewhere else.
Or just shipping it.
Yep, exactly. Or like you're getting like a land and it's completely directly replicated somewhere else. And it is such a shame because I like the idea of being able to go to the parks to visit the unique things. And there's less reason to visit if they keep duplicating things. I know that we'll probably talk about it in Disneyland. They're thinking about doing Pandora there. And I was hearing that it's because obviously there's such a huge amount of people living in the US, and typically they will visit one or the other. So they're like, oh, well, maybe we'll duplicate things so that people, if they go to just one park, they can experience it. But then I'm like, you're also not encouraging people to maybe try the other park.
Yeah.
If you're just giving it to them.
I 100% agree. But, I can kind of see it from the other side as well. Selfishly, international travel is expensive and it gets very involved. Yeah. So the fact that I think Florida right now is kind of like absorbing a lot of different rides and attractions, Tron is from Shanghai, Remy is from Paris. And so as a US state-based individual, it is nice, but at the same time, I would love to have some variety and, instead of having one thing in one place and, being able to kind of go to diverse places to be able to experience different things. So that's kind of my thoughts on Dino Land. Yes, I do like dinosaur though. So I don't know.
This is the thing.
One of the few.
I don't think I've ever been on dinosaur. And I know the last 2 times I was in Disney World, I was like, I can't remember if I've been on it before, so I should go on it. But everyone kept saying, if you get motion sickness, this could be a bad ride for motion sickness. So I got too scared and backed out. And now there's every chance it might be closed before I go. And I'm like, no, I want to experience it before it changes. So hopefully.
I think you should. I think you'll be all right.
Yes. And the thing is, I've done Indiana Jones, and
it's the same.
I thought I was going to die. I wasn't worried about motion sickness. I was
Okay.
a doll. I had no idea it was going to be that rough. I was literally hanging out the side. Didn't have time to feel sick. Just thinking, this is the end. This is the end. But it was amazing. It was so good. So I definitely want to try the dinosaur version.
Yeah, absolutely. And sounds like they are going to be expanding. Well, again, we're not sure. They want to say the Adventure of the Americas, like the, Latin America, Central America,
Yes.
that's coming potentially
Yep.
as well to Animal Kingdom. And I think what had happened was originally, I think there were some rumors that in Magic Kingdom, Frontierland, beyond, I think, Blue Thunder Mountain, or even retheming that potentially to sort of Encanto or Coco. But it sounds like that plan may have shifted to Animal Kingdom, where they're going to be introducing a whole land that is more themed to our, the southern hemisphere or central hemisphere. So
I think that's going to be incredible because
yeah,
that park where you already have Africa and Asia represented,
yeah,
I think it'd be fantastic because you don't have much South American representation in Disney in general. So I
not
think
at
that'd be
all.
so fun. And stuff like Encanto and Coco have been so popular. And I know whenever people say if there's going to be another pavilion added to Epcot, what would you like? And loads of South American countries are always put forward. So I think that'll be fantastic.
Apparently there's room for three more pavilions.
That,
Rumor has it.
how
So
incredible would that be? That would be next level. And there's so many things you can do, like because there's so many different countries. We've only got 11. I think there's something like 205 official countries in the world. So there's so many you can choose from. But it's just hard to pick. I suppose that's a
and I
good
think
question. You should
the
tell us in the
climate would,
comments.
yeah, absolutely. Let us know. Let us know
What
what you
countries do
think.
you want to see in Epcot if they added more pavilions? Because I think that's such an interesting question.
And then I think for just the climate, if you put the Amazon rainforest and Animal Kingdom, I think it fits perfectly. So
Yes.
again, fingers and toes crossed, they do something.
Yes.
Sometimes Disney does these blue sky things that you don't hear about them for many, many years. So.
Yes. And that's the thing, like you said, I think it actually fits better in Animal Kingdom. And there's obviously the rumors that the Magic Kingdom extension is going to become villains themed.
Villains, yes. Oh,
I have always wanted a whole villains park, but I would take a villains land. I would take a villains. In fact, when the pandemic happened, there was an online course that was meant for children, but I was taking it, and it was designed by Disney Imagineers, and it was how to create your own Disneyland, like in a park, and you got to pick out like what rides you would have, and like what scents would you pump in, and what would the doorknobs look like, and it was so interesting. And I made a whole villains land, and I'm like, from my imagination, it was incredible. So I can only imagine what it's like with the actual Imagineers.
Let us know in the comments below who's your favorite villain, because
Yes.
I have my. Who's yours, Sophie?
So mine is Dr. Facilier, which is why I'm like, have everything crossed. He's going to be in this ride.
I think
this is actually Dr. Facilier. We can't see it very much.
Yeah, I can. I'm looking at you now. I don't know. I probably have to go with Maleficent.
She's pretty amazing.
She's a classic.
Yes.
She's amazing.
Yes, like iconic. And if you have like her castle or something like that, could you imagine?
Oh my gosh. Oh,
it'd be so good. So good.
Shall we move on to Hollywood Studios?
Yes, let's do it. But yeah, I feel like there's not lots happening. Not lots of updates. I feel like we're good. We've done Galaxy's Edge. That costs a lot of money. We're good.
Well, I think one thing that is it is coming, is that they're doing the Star Tours, the adventure continues. Sounds like they are going to be inserting some new characters, new scenes. You know how they have like, I don't know.
Yes.
Multiple permutations of the scenes, and every chance you go, you might encounter a different scene. Mike and I actually at one time, because that ride tends to have like the lowest wait time generally. So there was one time where the wait time was super low. Mike and I literally just went around like 5 times just to see.
That's amazing.
See what the permutation is like with the different scenes. I think 5 was pretty much all we can handle, because that one tends to be a little bit motion sickness inducing.
Yes. Were you the rebel spy? If it was only you, I'm assuming one of you had to have been.
I think it was Mike. So by the 4.5 time, I think the face was turning a little bit green. So we're like, okay, we're not
going to do any more spying today.
And that has come to Disneyland. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I think, Sophie, that's also going to Disneyland Paris, right? They're going to be adding some,
So that's also coming to Disneyland Paris, which I think is fantastic. And we can actually touch upon that because there's some potential Star Wars news coming to Disneyland Paris, which is exciting.
Talk to me about it. Talk to me.
So basically, there was originally, when they were talking about the expansion of Walt Disney Studios Park, it was going to be Frozen and Galaxy's Edge. And then very quickly, all mentions of Galaxy's Edge disappeared, and they've never mentioned it again. But what happened was someone sneakily, they were going on Space Mountain, which is actually in Disneyland Park. And that's also where Star Tours is. It's right next door. And there were some Imagineers in the kind of queue area. And this person was peeking over their shoulder and taking photographs. And they had images of a kind of Galaxy's Edge style land at the back of Space Mountain. And I think that makes so much more sense because you've already got that theming kind of there, and you've got Galaxy's Edge, you've got Star Tours, you've already got a Star Wars shop, you've got Star Wars meet and greets there. So that would be incredible if that was going to happen.
Do you think it's going to be very similar? Because I know Disneyland or Disney World, Hollywood Studios, and Disneyland Batuu is almost identical.
Yeah. I feel like from the original artwork, it looked like it possibly could, but I feel like the rumors are just Rise of the Resistance on its own cost something like $500 million to make. And I'm like, there's no way I think they could invest that sort of money into Disneyland Paris and get it back, which I think is why they were like, let's scale this back maybe, particularly because I would imagine that they'd thought about this pre-pandemic. And then obviously the pandemic, and afterwards they've had a lot of financial difficulties. So I think they kind of scaled it back. But, you know, that could still happen. It could still happen. We never know. But we do know there's a lot going on in Disneyland Paris. So should we hop to Disneyland Paris now?
Before we go there, one more rumor to kind of conclude the at least Disney World sounds like Genie Plus Lightning Lane or the individual Lightning Lane a la carte selections. I can't believe I just said that in one go.
Amazing.
It could be going to an advance at reservation, just like your advanced dining reservations. There's again rumor summer. I actually, it's kind of like the Fast Pass before, where you can sort of like get your e-ticket attractions booked ahead of time. So
I think that would be so handy because at the moment where you can book one at a time, and of course there's tips and tricks, you can fiddle faddle, you can stack, there's all these things you can use. But it's still that frustration of you can technically only have one at a time. So if you could pre-book some, that would make it so much better. And as we're seeing the price go up and up and up, I feel like if they're going to keep increasing the price, they have to make Genie Plus better, and more, you get more out of it if they're going to keep increasing the price.
Yeah, exactly. And, waking up at 7 a.m., well, before 7 a.m. to catch your Tron virtual queue and getting your individual Lightning Lane before then. And
yes, exactly. I've been doing some consultations. And one of the big things that we focus on is when you're visiting Disney World, the order to book things at 7 a.m. Because like you say, you've got virtual queues, you've got Genie Plus, you've got individual Lightning Lanes. It's a lot at 7 a.m. So we've been prioritizing, like, this is what you should be going for. And I think it's one of those things that if you've never been, it can be so overwhelming because you just don't know what to book.
And for all of y'all that are listening, Sophie's a pro. She taught me everything I know about booking and advanced dining reservations. So no joke.
Oh, it's lovely. Anyways. It's so lovely for you to say that. But yeah, you're so right. It's like, if you've never been, there's so many choices, so many things to consider. It's not just a holiday. You do have to have some planning or knowledge to get the most out of it. And that's probably something we should do. We could probably do a whole podcast just about how to get the most out of your day, how to kind of make Genie Plus work for you. We should definitely do that because I think that's such an interesting topic.
It's not a vacation, it's a workation, let me tell you.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true.
So Sophie, would you do the honor of taking us to Disneyland Paris, which I've never been? So this is all you.
There is a lot happening. Literally, we have had so much news the past couple of weeks because the big one is, of course, Walt Disney Studios Park is going to be renamed. It's now going to be Disney Adventure World. I don't know. It hasn't settled in yet. I'm not a massive fan of the name at the moment. I think it's interesting that I feel like it's not a very creative name. And I think
because we already have DCA in California, Disney California Adventure. Now it's a Disney Adventure World.
And I think it's interesting because in the other park, you've already got Adventureland. So then it's going to be a bit confusing for people. It's like, oh, you've got Adventureland, but then Adventure World is a completely separate park. I feel like World is a big name.
Yes.
It's a very small park. And I know they are doing this expansion. And over the years, I think they will add more and more and more. But at the moment, it feels like it's not big enough to be a world. And people that don't go to Disney often, I don't know if this is the same in the US, but you will have a lot of people in the UK say they're going to Disneyland, Florida. Like the names are very easy to confuse.
Oh, don't cancel those people.
Yes,
the
but I think what's interesting. But what I think is interesting is I feel like it will then confuse people thinking it's a Disney World in France when it's obviously not. So I think that could be confusing and interesting. The first thing I thought is in the UK we have a theme park called Chesington World of Adventures. And I was like, they literally just changed the order. And I'm like, I wonder what Chesington are thinking. It's so interesting.
And that's the smaller of the two parks, right?
Yes, and it's very small at the moment. They are doing this expansion, so we're going to have a new big walkway called Adventure Way that's going to lead into Frozen Land. There's going to be a new Tangled ride, a new Princess meet and greet, and there's also rumours that we're going to be having a Lion King land. Now we always knew, now that they cancelled kind of Galaxy's Edge, we always knew there was going to be a second new land, and Lion King kept kind of popping up. And then recently, Jim Shaw, who was a Imagineer for decades, he went on the internet and he posted concept art saying, oh, I'm really excited for Lion King Land at Disneyland Paris. It's going to be having a water ride. And everyone was like, has he accidentally done a leak? Because I feel like we're not meant to know this. But the concept art looked incredible, and it's interesting that there could be a water ride at Disneyland Paris because famously they don't have them because obviously it's very cold sometimes of the year, sub-zero temperatures. Definitely don't want to be getting wet. So I think that'll be very interesting. But what do you think about the idea of having a Lion King land?
That sounds fantastic. You know, selfishly, would I want it to be an Animal Kingdom in Florida? Maybe, but you know, that again, to our earlier point, you know, it gives us an opportunity and chance to visit some other places for sure. That sounds fantastic.
And I think what's great about it is it will be a unique land, which is fantastic. Because obviously we're getting a Frozen land, but it's going to be kind of a replica. So you kind of know what you're getting with that. But with this, it should be completely new. And I think it will be a draw for people to visit Disneyland Paris.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It was so good. But yeah, that studio park has a lot going on at the moment. So I went in March and there are construction walls absolutely everywhere. And very recently, Studio One, which is when you first walk in, you have this massive studio. It's all old Hollywood themed inside. And you walk through it to get to the park. That's now closed permanent forever. That is going to be rethemed. They are still kind of keeping the old Hollywood theming, because this has come on to another thing that a lot of people are discussing. Because they're doing a lot of changes to this park, the original concept of the park, you had stuff like the backlot tour, you had like Armageddon kind of experience, you had a lot of movie making stuff, and all of that's gone. So that's why I think they're changing the name. But we were like,
correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. So that sounded like that park was kind of like Hollywood Studios.
Yes, it was very much. Yes, it was very, very similar. And you had a lot of the same rides, like the Backlot Tour and the Tower of Terror, stuff like that. The thing that people have always been talking about is the Tower of Terror is, once you came out of Studio One, it's right in front of you. You had these old Hollywood facades and it made sense. And then right next door, they've built Avengers Campus. So people have always been worried.
I was going to say, is Avengers Campus in the adventure world now?
Yes, it's going to be an adventure world, which makes sense. But people have always thought, will they retheme Tower of Terror to Guardians? And once they announced that Studio One's shutting, they're retheming that whole land, it was kind of like, if the old Hollywood stuff goes, I think that will happen. But because they are kind of keeping an old Hollywood vibe, it could stay, but it's kind of up in the air at the moment. Will that be rethemed? Will it not?
Is that right? It's operational right now, even though the land around it is closed?
Yes. So basically, they've diverted you. The way you get into the park, you're going to go around Studio One, and then there's loads of construction walls, but the Tower of Terror is still open at the moment. There's only a few rides, like the Magic Carpets of Aladdin are shut, but I think it does make sense because that park, where it's evolved and changed its theme, at the moment it's a little bit hodgepodge. So you've got like a little Toy Story land, you've got France for Ratatouille, but the front of the park, you've got like an Aladdin ride next to Crush, then you've got a Cars ride. Doesn't really make sense. So I can totally see why they're retheming that. But I think it'll be interesting, especially you're going to have Avengers Campus that's going to lead on to Adventure Way and then on to Frozen Land. The expansion at the moment they're kind of talking about is going to double the size of the park.
Oh, wow.
Although
where are they going to put it?
Well, here's the thing. There is a massive lake. So about 90% of the expansion is water. So I'm like, okay, you're doubling the size of the park, but a lot of it we can't use. So is talk about will there be boats on the lake, and there's something I've heard, it's a rumor, it has not been said, it's not confirmed, but there's a lot of talk about Fantasmic might come, because they would then have the option to do that, and I'm like, well, that would be a good use of the water, because at the moment I feel like we're doubling the size of the park, it's actually water. It's not a great thing, but if they add Fantasmic, I'll be on board.
oh my gosh, that would be. But we'll get to Fantasmic a little bit later when we're talking about Disneyland.
But yeah, that would be incredible, because at the moment they do have a really great drone show for Avengers, and it's amazing. But one thing I would say is it doesn't happen all year round, so it would be nice if they had a show in that park that you could have more frequently.
I saw one of your previous videos about it was at the 30th anniversary show.
Yeah,
I was drooling. My mouth was open the whole time.
It's incredible.
I would love to go and experience that in person.
Yeah. Well, this is something that we forgot to mention, is that in this summer, so I think it starts I've got it written here, 24th of May until the 2nd of September, there's going to be a drone show coming to Disney Springs. And that is actually the same company that do all the drone shows for Disneyland Paris. They set up an office in Orlando, so it's going to be the same people. So I think that is going to be incredible to see drones. Everyone, I think, has been hoping, will it come to the US parks? And where they're testing out at Disney Springs, I think that's amazing news.
Disney Springs in the US or Disney?
Yes, yeah, Disney Springs in Orlando.
Wow.
So I think that's going to be so fun. And some of the images, they've shown you some of the drones in the artwork, and it's the same drones that are currently in the Electrical Sky Parade in Disneyland Paris. So I don't know if they're going to do a direct replica of that show, or if there will be like elements of it, but that's really fun. It's like kind of a retro throwback, lots of like fun little elements. So I can't wait to see it.
No, that sounds amazing, because I know that, aviation laws in the US tend to be a little crazy.
Yes.
Which is why they can't, they haven't been able to sort of have drone shows and, aerial shows like that. But I knew, and to your point, Sophie, that I knew that they've been working with the FAA and, regulators to kind of like free that up. So that's not, if that's coming to Disney Springs, I'm all ears.
Yes, I think it was so interesting. I did wonder if the reason it wasn't in the park was because of like the aviation laws, and they're like, well, maybe Disney Springs is the option. So I think that's going to be super, super exciting. I know, I can't wait for that. I cannot wait.
But sounds like there's a lot, you and I have talked about it before, but sounds like there's a lot of constructions currently in Disneyland Paris.
Yes. So like I said, there's a lot of construction walls in Walt Disney Studios Park. In fact, the construction's happening 24 hours. So we were queuing to go and watch one of the shows. They've got an amazing Pixar show called Together. I think it's my favorite show I've seen in any Disney park. It's unreal. But when you were there was just like a pneumatic drill going on the whole time you're in the queue. So it's intense. And I would say, if you are planning a trip to Disneyland Paris in the next year and a half, be aware of this, because the Studios Park is going to be under construction for a very long time. Frozen Land, we don't have an opening date. We're thinking D23, they may announce the actual opening date, but it's going to probably be towards the end of 2025 by the seams of it.
So okay, so still a ways away.
Exactly. And like, if you're visiting maybe from France or the UK or Holland, somewhere close, then it's not such an issue, because if you can get a cheap deal, you could kind of go, okay. But if it's your once in a lifetime trip, or you're coming from the US further afield, I would say definitely wait until 2026 until all of those construction walls are gone, because it was very noticeable. And the thing that's interesting is, obviously I follow a lot of vloggers and follow a lot of like Disneyland Paris Facebook groups, and they have all been posting like updates, but nowhere when you're booking for Disneyland Paris do they tell you all of this is going on. So, like say if you go to a hotel and they have like a pool renovation, when you're booking, they will tell you that. And Disneyland Paris do that, but they don't tell you that the Studios Park is basically 50% construction
Like
walls at the
half,
moment.
half,
And I
half
think
down.
it's such a shame because the people that are visiting that don't know and it's their once in a lifetime trip, you're just not going to get the same experience. And even at Disneyland Park, I was surprised there was loads of construction walls. They're kind of more short-term projects, so that's good. But Disney Village, which is their kind of version of Disney Springs, that's having a massive reservation over the next couple of years. So again, lots of construction walls there. So yeah, they've actually been calling Walt Disney Studios Park Walt Disney Studios Park.
Walt
So
Disney.
I love that
I
we're
love
doing
that.
that in all of them. It's perfect. But yeah,
And yeah, and then you did mention, Sophie, that when there's like a Genie Plus version or whatever over there in Disneyland
yes,
Paris,
yeah.
that they don't, if you don't get all the rides, sorry.
Yes, so that's the interesting thing because they've got Premier Access and you can use it in two ways. You can either buy an individual ride, which is between about €5 and €20, depending on which ride and time of year. And then you have Premier Access Ultimate, which includes, I think it's 14 rides now across both parks. So you do have to have a park hopper ticket, but you can skip the queue. And the thing that's interesting is you don't have to select a time or anything like that. You just turn up when you want and you can get on the ride straight away. But the downside is when we visited in March, as well as there being a lot of construction was, there was a lot of rides closed for renovations. Stuff like Crush's Coaster, Big Thunder Mountain, these really, really big rides that are included in Premier Access Ultimate. And I was actually talking to some American guests, and they were only there for one day, so they splurged. It's over €200 for Premier Access Ultimate. So it's very expensive.
So it's kind of like Express Pass in Universal Studios.
Exactly that. But because some of the big rides were shut, I said, "Oh, did they give you like a discount?" And they were like, "Oh no, we didn't even know they were shut until you told us." And I think that's really interesting that it's not guaranteed. I can understand if a ride goes down because there's a technical thing, but when they've got scheduled closures and they're closing a lot of the big rides at the same time, it was interesting that they didn't do anything to reflect that in the price, or maybe give you like an open pass so you could go on any of the other rides again.
So follow Most Magical Guides. Sophie's the expert, so she'll let you know if you're getting your money's worth, I guess.
Yeah, exactly that. But I think what is interesting is even though there's a lot of construction at Walt Disney Studios Park at the moment, they are very soon having a new Alice in Wonderland show. So that's going to be really interesting. And it's going to be very interactive. I think you pick a side and you really get involved. There used to be a massive stadium that they had a car show. I feel like I did see this car show in the US before, where they would show you how they did stunts from films and like cars would like flip and there'd be flames and stuff like that. I'm sure I've seen it in the US, but they had it in Disneyland Paris. But that's now shot and they're putting Alice in Wonderland in there.
Oh, interesting. Because I know in Hollywood Studios, they have that Indiana Jones Stuntacular or something
Yes.
like that. Okay,
Yeah.
that's probably similar to what it used to be.
Yes. But I think it's interesting because it's going to be right next to Avengers Campus. I think it would have made more sense to have done an Avengers themed show like this is how you do stunts in Marvel films. So it's interesting because they do have Alice in Wonderland
Disney hire her
represented.
because she's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting because they've got Alice in Wonderland, they've got a maze, and they've obviously got the teacups in the other park. So it's interesting that they were like, we want to do something with this stadium. And
Yeah, you're right.
It's really fun, but it's weird that it's kind of disjointed and it's one of those things.
Yeah, it is a hodgepodge.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing so much to kind of make the park more thematically consistent. And they're like, but just throw Alice in there. Which I think is really interesting. But it does look like a really fun
adventures.
Show.
They all start with an A, so
yeah, exactly. It'll be fine. She'll be an Avenger at some point. It's so good.
So anything happening in Disneyland Paris? Because we've spent a lot of time talking about the adventure world.
Yeah, no, there's been a few little things. So like Casey's Corner is going to be an awning. So that's currently under construction because at the moment they've just got outdoor seating. And obviously in the winter months, that's not ideal if it's raining, stuff like that. So they're actually going to make it all undercover the outside seating, which I think will be fantastic because yeah, making Disneyland Paris more weatherproof, I think, will be perfect. And they already do a good job of it. So there's loads of like secret tunnels and passageways that are undercover so that you can get around the park if it is raining. So adding these extra touches, I think, is going to be fantastic.
But I can't wait to go.
Yes, it'll be so fun. It is a very beautiful park.
But the recommendation is wait until perhaps 2026.
Yes, exactly. And then you're going to have the benefit of the new Frozen Land. A lot of the construction's going to be finished. And of course, just recently we've had the Disneyland Hotel reopen. That had been for years, and it looks so stunning inside. The thing that's been interesting is when it very first opened, the first couple of weeks, only hotel guests could enter. Then they kind of, you could go in if you were staying at a different Disneyland Paris hotel, but the queue was hours and hours long. So then they changed it to a virtual queue. There is talk that that is going to go away, so it will become like the other Disney parks, and you can just go in. Same thing with the restaurants. The restaurants originally, one was exclusively just for Disneyland hotel guests. The other one at lunchtime, if you were staying at a Disneyland Paris hotel, you could enter, but only at lunch. And at dinner, it was only for the hotel guests. So it's very interesting rules, but that has recently changed. So now anyone can book to go to those two restaurants. But it is
that is kind of strange. Yeah. Having a virtual queue to go into a hotel. I mean, I get it because it's stunning, it's beautiful, everybody wants to go, but still, wow, interesting.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that was interesting, is because where they started out with it being just exclusive for the hotel guests, of course people got excited about it who were staying there, and then now they've started to let people in, and people are a bit miffed because it wasn't a natural thing, because no other Disney hotel does this. Like, you can go to any of the Disney hotels, even if they're the most deluxe hotels, anyone can go and visit them. So I think it was interesting that they kind of made it exclusive to the hotel, and then you can understand now why, now that they've taken it away, people are a bit annoyed because they're like, oh, but you said it was exclusive. So it's very interesting. But noting both of the restaurants are character dining meals. So you've got 2 extra character dining meals, which is great. They are very expensive though. So Royal Banquet is a buffet, is €100. It's the most expensive buffet in the world. So it's one of those that if you like seafood, that's kind of what it's famous for. If you have dietary requirements, though, it's a bit more tricky. For that price tag, I had a reservation for it and I cancelled just because I was like, there's no way I'm going to get €100 worth of vegan food. So I just cancelled. But you do get to see the characters dress up in their royal costumes, which is so cute. And then in the other restaurant, it's kind of like a fine dining experience. And what's great is the character, I think it's the only one that at least I'm aware of in the world where you meet Disney princesses with their princes.
So you
meet them as a couple, and that's great.
You don't get to see them as a couple. I mean, I miss Sweetheart Nights in Disneyland.
Yes,
and that's apparently that's when the couples came out. But yeah, that is rare. That is very, very rare.
So cute, but it's worth noting as well that is €125 per person. So very pricey, but it is kind of unique, and if you're there to treat yourself, then it's definitely worth doing. And
treat yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And the queues can be very, very long to meet characters in Disneyland Paris. Like the Princess Pavilion is often over a 200-minute wait. So sometimes paying out to do a character dining meal is the best option because you're going to meet so many characters at once.
Well, we'll have to plan a trip.
Yes, that'll be so exciting. It would be amazing to visit and get to see what you think of it all. And it's a very, very beautiful park, very, very charming. And some of the best versions of rides in any Disney park, like
and the castle,
Mountain. Oh my God, stunning, absolutely stunning. So it's definitely worth a visit.
And your Space Mountain goes upside down, apparently.
Yes, it has a big launch at the beginning. It goes upside down. Like, it's very exciting. So yeah,
I've done research.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect. I absolutely love it. But I'm trying to think, let me see if there's anything else that's coming to Disneyland Paris. Because I feel like there's a lot happening. But yeah, no, apart from like Disney Dreams, which is the current fireworks show, which recently came back. So it was a show from many, many years ago. I think it was for the 25th anniversary. Then they switched it to Illuminations. Then when the 30th anniversary ended, they went back to Dreams. And now very quickly, they're going back to Illuminations. So this summer, Disney Dreams will be no more, and they're going back to Illuminations. I would actually like to see a new fireworks show at Disneyland Paris. I used to love Dreams when it came out. Absolutely, Dr. Facilier is part of it, so that's probably why. But Illuminations, I'm not a big fan of. I cry at everything in Disney. It's ridiculous. But
Oh, me too.
with the fireworks shows, that's how I know it's a good show. If I cry, like
Yes.
I watch Happily Ever After on YouTube probably twice a week, and I cry every single time. It's absolutely, I can't stop. It's ridiculous, and I'm like, that's on a screen at home. But like, Illuminations didn't have any impact on me. I think a lot of people prefer it to Dreams, but I'd love to see a new show. So if Disneyland Paris are listening, while you're doing all of these amazing updates, throw in a new fireworks show as well. Just don't worry about the budget. Just
toss it in.
Yeah, exactly. Shall we head over to Disneyland now?
Do you want to do the international parks before? Because neither one of us have been there.
No, so this is very exciting. Like, I am desperate to go out. I'd love to do all three in one trip. I think that would be amazing.
That would make sense because they're all, I mean,
Yes.
you're flying 12 hours anyway. You might as well.
Exactly that. And they just look incredible. And the thing that's great is all of them have had loads of new things.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing that's interesting. Like when we were talking about Disney World and the Asian parks, a lot of their renovations are kind of coming towards the end now. So when you visit in the next couple of years, it's going to be so many new things to experience, and kind of all the construction's now out the way. So you're going to get the good bits. But of course, you've had in Shanghai, they've opened Zootopia, which the land looks incredible. And I'm so glad that film's getting represented. My friend's just been Derek. And
oh my gosh.
Merchandise. Oh no, I couldn't. I would have to come back with 15 suitcases.
The Asian parks, they do have the cutest merch.
And it's so much cheaper. It's so much cheaper, so affordable. And I'm like, that's a deadly combo. If you've got incredible merch, it's cheap. I think that's it.
I watch your merch haul, so
yes,
you know where it's at. So
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I feel like I'd just be like, I can't get back to the UK because I bought basically everything that's on sale. But I think Zootopia Land looks amazing. And again, I think it's one of these films that maybe didn't get a massive box office reception, but within the fandom is really loved. So it's great to see it getting representation. Of course, you have had Frozen Land in Hong Kong, which is going to come to Disneyland Paris. That looks very stunning.
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous.
I know. The Arendelle Castle looks incredible. One thing I would say is, from what I've seen, the roller coaster that they have looks very, very short. So I don't think Disneyland Paris, they will kind of change that a little bit, or if it will be an exact copy. But that's very interesting because I know the queues, obviously, as a new ride, are very, very long, and it's like less than a minute. It's a very, very short ride. So I'm hoping they'll maybe kind of make it a bit longer. But that's obviously incredible. And then Tokyo.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Tokyo.
God. In the next couple of months, Fantasy Springs is opening, a whole new land. It looks next level, doesn't it?
How do we feel about that? Because, here in the States, we're kind of like looking at Disney World, Disneyland, which we'll talk about very shortly here.
Yeah.
It's not too much happening.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, I am desperate to visit Tokyo because I feel like, especially Disney Sea, looks like the best Disney park in the world. It looks incredible. And now you're going to be having Fantasy Springs joining Disney Sea, and it's a mixture. It's Peter Pan, Rapunzel, and Frozen all in one land, which is nice because it's kind of like a fantasy land. I mean, obviously the name Fantasy Springs, but it's nice that you're kind of getting more of that like whimsical classic Disney. And I just think it's going to be better. They're also having a new hotel that's going to be attached. And I'm just like, it sounds incredible. And I think Tokyo, the way they do everything looks just incredible.
And if you all have been to one of the Asian parks, let us know.
Yes.
What is it like?
Yes,
I don't know. What's your
recommendation?
What is your favorite ride? Let us know.
Yes, exactly. What are the things we need to hit? Have you stayed at any of the hotels? Which one would you recommend? The Toy Story Hotel looks unreal.
Oh my gosh.
Like just the next level. Unreal. It's just, I can't get over it. The theming is incredible. Because when I go to Disney, I want the rooms to be like Disney have thrown up there. Like I want to know I'm in Disney. And that's one thing I do think is sad about Disney World is now that the renovations of the resorts, they're kind of taking away the theming a bit.
They're very generic, aren't they?
Yes. And I'm like, no. Be sick on it. Go.
I mean, the DVC tower that's coming online soon at the Polynesian, doesn't give me the tropical Polynesian vibe.
No, it's so true. And I know that they were saying that the person who's now in charge of kind of the theming, their previous work was in hospitals and like doctor surgeries. Great. And I'm like, you could kind of feel that kind of clinical feel. Like you said,
yes,
the theming is. And I'm like, don't do that. Like get someone in who's like really into like.
Let's have Disney vomit all over it. I'd be good with that. Yes.
And that's what I think when you see the Toy Story Hotel, that is it, and it's unreal. And that's something I really look at Disneyland Paris. They do really well. Their hotels are incredibly well themed, so that's so good. But yeah, the Asian parks, if you're going anytime soon or you're thinking about it, you are going to be in for a treat because they have had so many new things come, and you are going to just be able to experience it all. It looks incredible.
Well, I'm jealous.
So. I know.
All right, it's time to bring it back to
your homeland,
the OG. Disneyland California always just has that very, very special bit of place in my heart, simply because, you know, it is the only park that Walt himself has walked in or had walked in. And there's just a level of extra pixie dust about Disneyland.
Yes. And something I really enjoyed is the fact that there's so many rides that are unique to it as well. Yes. Like you say, that you just really get this sense of the history and all of these like opening day attraction, like Walt's touch everywhere. It's just incredible.
So a couple of things. I mean, I think that this just dropped a couple of days ago that starting in late April, the railroad tour. I know, Sophie, you've recently been to Disneyland.
Yes.
You went to the tour that got you into Walt's apartment, the Main Street story tour. Amazing.
Unreal.
So the new tour that they're starting to book soon it's a railroad tour that gets you into the Lily Bell, the caboose,
I can't cope.
The presidential car.
I've never been a like train person, but a couple of years ago, because I also write articles about Disney for websites and stuff like that, and someone asked me to do an article all about Walt Disney's love for trains and the Disney Railroad.
It started it all, really.
I am obsessed now with the Disney Railroad.
Yeah.
So this, to me, I would be desperate. I've been waiting for the railroad tour at Disney World to reopen, but this, where you get to go in the Lily Bell, you get to go in that suite, like on the train, it looks incredible.
On the train.
I would be so into that.
They haven't said when they're going to start the tour, but I know the booking starts in later this month. So actually, in a couple of days, believe it or not. So by the time you watch this video, it might already be open for bookings. Yeah. So if you're interested, hop on it.
And I would say what's really great about these backstage tours is you get such a different insight into the Disney park. So if you're a massive Disney park fan, or maybe you've been before and you're looking for something new and interesting to do, they are so worth doing.
The cast members are super knowledgeable. They will really kind of take the time to explain about the history, and there's just so much to learn too. And so every time I get to do one of these, and Sophie, you and I have chatted about this, from the price points, they tend to be a little bit on the more expensive side. And, you get an hour, 2 hours, whatever the case might be. And they typically cost, at $135, I think, dollars. I think that's right around the price point. But if you think about it, just for what you're getting, this very unique and what almost once in a lifetime opportunity, I think it's definitely worth the price of admission. And, for like thousands of dollars for a VIP tour, I don't know. I've never been on one, so I can't vouch for that. You may or may not even get to do that. So for the fraction of the cost, it might be worth it.
It's so true. And I think that's the thing that, like you say, you're getting this once in a lifetime experience that you're going to go to these backstage areas, you're going to get to see and do things. And when I did Walt's apartment tour, it was like such a highlight of my trip. And towards the end, you get to go out. There's a patio, which I didn't even know there was a patio, but you get to go out on this patio.
I know. I didn't know either.
I know, it's so fun. You're like, oh my gosh. And we were having like drinks and snacks. And when I was there, it was Christmas time, and the Dapper Dans happened to be below us singing Christmas songs. And I was like, this is
my gosh.
This couldn't be any better. And I want to give a quick shout out. I've done the Keys to the Kingdom tour in Magic Kingdom as well. And
very good one.
Oh, it's unreal. And that actually I think is really good pricing because it's like a 5-hour walking tour, lunch is included, and it's about $114. It's much.
Yeah, it's not really that bad. Affordable. Yeah.
But I had the most incredible guide. She was called Darlene, and her father and grandfather both worked for Walt Disney. And actually, she grew up in California because her dad obviously worked for Disney. And when she was a child, her dad would bring her to work, and she would go around Disneyland with Walt Disney himself. So she had the most incredible personal stories. And like, I was literally like tearing up. I was like, this is the best thing ever. But yeah, you get all of these like really amazing like personal touches that the guides have had. So they're definitely worth doing.
So I think hopping to the next thing, Fantasmic is coming back.
Yes, I was so sad it wasn't on when I was there.
So quick story. Mike and I were there the night Murphy Maleficent went up
Oh my
in
gosh,
smokes.
what a moment to have seen.
Okay. Unfortunately, we were not there to witness the magnificent fire. We were actually on the Storybook Canal, the little boat ride that gets, they get kind of take you around the world, the miniature world of Disney castles. And then there was just like this huge plume of smoke. We're like, "Ooh, this is not good. What's happening?" Yeah. And then our friend who was watching Fantasmic texted us and it was like, "You won't believe what's happening right now." We're like, God. "Oh my gosh." We were like, "Can we get off the boat and check that
exactly.
out?"
That's wild.
Yeah, we were there. I mean, we were this close to watching Fantasmic, but we were not. We didn't. We opted to do the Storybook Canal. But that was the night that Murphy. But I will say this: Disneyland cast members did an amazing job. Kept everybody calm, and I think they just sort of like closed off that one area. But the rest of the park, just the show went on. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think that's the thing, like you say, they really take it seriously as well, that they were like, we're not just going to cancel the show for a couple of days. We're going to really go through this and make sure we can put things in place so this doesn't happen again. So it's been a little bit of a big gap since it ended. So it's going to be amazing to come back.
Almost a little over a year now by the time it comes back. So I think it's going to be happening May 24th. So we'll see. I get a sense that Murphy is not coming back, unfortunately, or she'd be back in some other form rather than her, full dragon glory. But we'll see. We'll see. They're saying that they're introducing some new scenes. So I don't know. I'm very excited. Fantasmic, again, another show that I just absolutely love. And Sophie, if it ever goes to Disneyland Paris or the Adventure World.
Yes, exactly. Imagine. So
it's ready.
It'll be great. That is worth noting, actually, that the Adventure World name isn't going to come until Frozen Land opens.
Oh, okay.
I suppose at the moment they're still hoping we'll go to Walt Disney Studios Park, but you can do what you want. If you're an early adopter, you might already be going with Adventure World.
I like Studio Park.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true.
So moving on, I think Haunted Mansion, that is, the big thing that's happening. Now, again, when there are two rides that are similar in Disneyland and Disney World, I'm kind of, maybe Sophie and I will do a little bit of a little friendly competition in our next podcast. The best version of each ride, because she's been to Disneyland Paris, so there's a bunch of other rides and attractions that are similar but different but similar, so maybe we'll do that. But coming back to Haunted Mansion, obviously Magic Kingdom's version recently, and I'll say recently, they've got the Hatbox Boat Ghost, which wasn't there for the longest time. So, that ride in Magic Kingdom is longer, the queue is better, and whatever, fine. But because we had the Hatbox Ghost in Disneyland, that was my little thing that I always kind of toted over the version of Magic Kingdom. Now that they've got that, we're just like, okay, clearly that version is now the better version. You can disagree with me if you'd like. Yeah. But what they're doing is they're going to be retheming the whole queue area. So I think they're bringing shops, new retail stores, 2 of them, in fact, and then they're going to introduce different interactive elements to the queue. So I think the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland closed down for a very extended refurbishment since the Haunted Mansion Holiday, which, Sophie, I think you love that. That's the one thing that I could tote over Magic Cousin.
It's unreal. It was so good.
Yeah, so that's coming down the pipe, and super excited for what they're gonna do. I'm still thinking they're gonna bring, again, all the little knickknacks and little Easter eggs, or they might be new things appearing there.
And the interactivity in the queue is going to be incredible.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So exciting.
Yeah, and Memento Mori, one of my favorite retail shops in
Me
Magic
too.
Kingdom.
So good.
So I think they're going to have a version of that
Yes.
coming. So
That'll
we'll
be
see.
so exciting. And of course, that is then right next to what's going to be
Yes.
Bio Adventure.
And that one, I think it's closed or opening a little bit later than Magic Kingdom's version, just because they closed down. I want to say a couple months or 3 or 4 months after the one that the Magic Kingdom closed down. So I still there's still a lot of scaffolding right now that's happening. So it's not quite where, but I think the crown, the tiara, is now on the water tower.
It's so
I've seen.
exciting.
I
Yes.
can't wait. It
Yes.
looks, it looks so different from Splash Mountain. I mean, just
Yes.
that little bit of, the rock work now is more, floral themed. They got, greeneries around. So
Yes.
the things that Disney Imagineers do, it's magical. And
it's incredible, isn't it? Just a few simple changes. The impact is wild. And I've seen some kind of like artwork of what it will look like at night when they've got the lights that kind of in the shrubbery and stuff. And it looks so pretty.
Yeah, and I think so if you're a fan of the, Briar Rabbit and them, I think that shop is unfortunately going to go away, but so get in there if you
Yes,
want.
exactly. It's
So
true.
every time I go to Disneyland, I'm like, I gotta take some pictures because this could be gone very soon. So there you have it on that front. But super excited. I think that's supposed to come online in 2024 as well, but maybe a little bit later down the year.
Yes, and that will be amazing to kind of see the reaction, because like you say, even though it's going to be kind of basically the same ride, because that's what I think Disney do really well is there's a lot of familiarity when you visit the different parks, but there's also uniqueness, and I think that's what makes them so special. So even though they're going to be very similar, because the setting's different in like the actual park itself, it's going to be so good to experience both.
Yeah, and I guess one very quick thing is that again, the Star Tours Adventures continues. Ahsoka, all of them, they are currently in Disneyland because they're in their seasons of the Force at the moment. So a lot of the new elements have been introduced. But Sophie, what do you think about the whole, Disneyland Forward that's just been approved by the city of Anaheim?
I think it's so exciting to think that there could be this expansion. And like you said, I think they said the final decision is going to come up in a couple of weeks' time. But what it sounds amazing, because it seems like, from what I've read, next to Disneyland Drive, there's going to be like rides, a hotel, or stuff like that. And then the Toy Story lot is going to be changed to kind of like an entertainment district. And so I think it's going to be amazing to see this massive expansion, because I suppose the difficult thing with Anaheim is where it's kind of in the
There's
middle
of the
city.
Land.
Exactly that. You're kind of restricted, whereas Disney World have endless amounts of land. So it's really clever how they're kind of doing this.
And I think what they're saying is that potentially Frozen, that just keeps on coming up. I guess, that's a very, very valuable IP to Disney. So they just keep on going back to the well, potentially. I heard Peter Pan, Coco, Frozen, and of course, the Avatar expansion, potentially new Pandora, perhaps the Water Tribe land over here in Disneyland. So
that would be amazing.
Lots of new things, but Toy Story parking lot is where I generally park when I go to Disneyland. So
yes.
I'm gonna be a little sad.
It's very interesting because, like you said, they're going to have somewhere else where they can build the parking lot. So that will be interesting. I know that they kind of, from when I visited, it seemed like the car parks do have a shuttle to the parks. So maybe they're thinking, if we have to have a car park that's a little bit further out, it's not such a problem because we can offer transportation. But they're doing it in a really clever way, I think, of being able to expand with very little ground.
We'll see again with Disney. You just you'll see it when you'll believe it when you see it, I guess.
Exactly. And I think that's basically kind of what's happening in the parks. And I think that's what's really good, is that if you are going to everywhere apart from Disneyland Paris, most of the works have already been completed or are close to completion. So if you're visiting this year, if you're towards the latter part of the year, you're going to have all of these new things coming. If you're visiting next year, it's already completed. Everything's going to be open. It's going to be amazing. Disneyland Paris, 2026, you're going to get the full shebang of Disney Adventure World. So I think that's very exciting. But I thought we maybe to end it, we could just touch upon something that I think is a hot topic, because at the moment, obviously, Disney, the past couple of years, they have had a lot of financial difficulty because of the pandemic. Streaming services across the board aren't performing as well. You know, even Netflix are having difficulty. Then Universal at the same time are having this
Oh,
massive upswing where they're about to open Epic Universe, a third park in Orlando. They're opening a small family park in Texas. They've just bought Port Aventura in Spain, and they're supposed to be building a theme park in the UK. So Disney have been doing all of this work, and I think this is the thing that's interesting. When we've been talking, you actually hear there's so much going on at Disney.
yes.
It's also coming off the back of you've had Tron, you've had Guardians of the Galaxy, you've had all of these
Yep.
extra things, but because all of a sudden at once Universal have got all of these new things happening, and particularly a whole new park, people are kind of thinking, how are Disney going to compete? So what do you feel about this kind of like rivalry?
Well, 2025 is, I don't not that far away.
Yep.
And from the sound of it, and you're all gonna kill me for this, Epic Universe sounds pretty epic. I mean, no joke.
Yes,
Because
it does.
I mean, it's essentially a whole new magic, the size of Magic Kingdom. They're putting that big of a land, the
Yeah.
whole other park. When
Yeah.
is Disney? I mean, what are you doing? What are you
Yeah,
doing?
no, it's so true, isn't it? And that's the thing. Like, it's fun when you have rethemed things or new rides, but it can
Yes.
never compete with the excitement of a whole new park. And I think there's something that's really interesting is typically Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios are more adult. It's a lot of big
Yes.
posters, but this is going to really appeal to families as well. So I think it's a big competition for Disney. I think that's why they've just released the 2025 offer for UK guests, and the free dining plan is back. We haven't seen that since the pandemic. A lot of people were desperate for it to come back. But interestingly, it's changed a bit because the dining plan has changed. So there used to be 3 tiers of the dining plan, then it's just 2. Where there's 3 tiers of resort, they've had to kind of change the offer slightly. So if you're staying at a value resort, it's not that great an offer. They're really targeting people staying in moderate and deluxe resorts, and also families, because obviously the more people that stay, the cheaper the hotel room works out, and the more dining plans you get free.
Yep.
And I think that's why they've targeted families, because they know where Universal are going to have a more family friendly park, a lot of people are going to want to visit. So they're trying to entice the families to stay on site at Disney. But
Yeah.
I think it's going to be so interesting because, like you say, it does look incredible. And I'm just like, I think the thing that Disney have always done well is that it's not just a theme park. The theming
Oh,
and the
yes.
magic in the air you don't get anywhere else. And Universal as a theme park is great, but it's not the same as Disney. I think,
I would agree. I would agree. Disney
and
Imagineers put so much
yes,
thought into just even the sight line. I mean,
yeah,
the thought process they built in behind what you view and kind of control your visuals.
yeah.
Just Universal, you know,
Yeah. And I think
I
that's the
can
thing
see
that's
it.
interesting is that Universal used to always feel more like a traditional theme park where you'd have themed lands, but it's very much like this is a land, then you move to the next one.
Yeah.
Whereas you say Disney, they transition you, it's really amazing.
Oh my gosh.
But I
Yeah.
think when they started doing the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, the quality went like unbelievably good. And I feel like this next park is going to be really that
Oh
level.
yeah. Yeah.
And
I
I think
agree.
that's so exciting. And of course, you're getting 3 new hotels. You're getting 2 value plus hotels, which are kind of between the endless summer you've got at the moment is the value. Cabana Bay and Aventura are the next levels. It's going to be in between them. But the one that I'm so excited about is the Helios Grand Hotel, which is going to be inside Epic Universe. It's the only Universal hotel inside a park. So that's going to be a big competition. It's interesting because the Universal hotels are much cheaper than the Disney hotels.
They are, and the value you get is amazing. You know, the
So
endless
good.
summer, I stayed there,
Yeah.
and you know, it was great. It was
Yes.
actually
So good. I stayed at Cabana Bay and like it was like a 5 minute bus to the parks.
yep.
Like you could even walk if you wanted to. It had a private entrance into Volcano Bay. Like amazing hotels. And the thing that's really great is if you stay at their premier hotels, you get express pass for every day of your stay. So if you even if you stay one night, you get 2 days of express pass.
Yeah, but the more people you can fit in there, obviously, the more value you
Exactly.
get.
But it's such good value. So it's definitely
Yeah,
worth
yeah.
doing a split stay. And I feel like that's what I have planned actually for 2025. Oh, there's a cat incoming, so I just will warn you. But I've planned to do a week at Disney and then switch over to Universal. and I'm going to do a value and hopefully a premier hotel. It's going to be interesting to see what the offer is, because there's a lot of rumors or talk about potentially, if you stay at Helios, you will get express pass for Epic Universe. And if you
Okay.
stay at the other premier hotels, it will just be for Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, not.
That would make sense. Yeah.
So I'm like, that would be interesting. But I'm also very excited for the Universal Park coming to the UK. They just recently had their
Oh my
first
gosh.
public meeting about it. And they actually were talking about land size. So, like, actually, the park itself, not the kind of backstage areas, the park itself, it will be the second biggest Universal Park in the world, which sounds incredible. And I think what's going to be really interesting is Disneyland Paris are doing a lot of work to make the Studios Park this new theme and more cohesive. But I feel like this will kind of shake them up a bit, because it's like, oh, we're going to have to really, really step up, because very quickly that could become the biggest and best theme park in the UK, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in the film industry, I think Universal this year might have won out
Yeah.
over Disney as far as, profit and everything. So
Yes.
there's a steep competition coming down the pipe, which
Yes.
again, competition breeds, the next
Yep.
elevation. So hopefully Disney, you're listening, that
Yes.
you're doing all these amazing things in international Asian parks, and
Yep.
Disneyland Paris sounds like it's going through some transition updates, and the US parks, let's go.
Yes.
Cheering
Yeah.
for you.
Exactly. But I think that's the thing, like you say, because of the competition, ultimately us as guests are only going to benefit,
That's right. That's
because
right.
now that Universal are kind of having the edge, maybe the next couple of years, because of Epic Universe and this new UK park, in that time, like you say, Disney already behind the scenes will have been going with lots of ideas. What can they do? What can they do to compete? And ultimately, we're going to benefit. So I think it's a really exciting time at the moment, because lots of the work, as we said, have coming towards the end. So you've got all of these amazing new elements. Disneyland Paris is catching up, it's kind of retheming, and who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of years. So I think it's a great time for people visiting.
I guess we'll just end on that
Yes.
mysterious, happy note.
What's going to
Who
happen?
knows
What
what's
would
going
you?
to happen?
Yeah, let us know what you would like to see. What things would you like to see come to the Disney parks? What are you most excited for of all of the plans we've discussed? To go, which parks do you want to visit? Like we both said, we're desperate to go to Asia. We need to know. We need to have the experience. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much, Sophie. This has been such a pleasure.
It's been so much fun. And yeah, until next time, guys, I hope you all have a most magical day. See you soon. Bye bye.